Sonic Team's popular puzzler manages to combine two distinct experiences into one, that being Puyo Puyo and the ever so popular Tetris. Many players will probably be familiar with Tetris, which involves lining up blocks correctly in order to create a line which fills the screen from left to right, resulting in the row dropping to allow more blocks to be formed. Now Puyo Puyo is a bit different, as it requires the player to match 4 or more of the same coloured blobs that are generated at the start of each level. The experience offers many different modes in which to play. There is a story mode that consists of about 70 levels. To go along with this is Battle and Versus, which manages to provide a lot of the replay value present within the experience. But the highlight of the game has to be a totally new inclusion that blends both the styles of Puyo Puyo and Tetris together, that results in one of the most puzzling and challenging experiences. To top all of this off, a robust multiplayer component is included for those wishing to take on friends both locally and over the internet. Puyo Puyo Tetris is an incredibly good value package, which every Vita owner should definitely give a go. Miracle Girls Festival is a rhythm game that shares many similarities with the likes of Hatsune Miku, right down to the identical gameplay mechanics and even utilising the same game engine. As you would expect with most rhythm games, everything revolves around correctly timing the symbols that correspond with the inputs on the controller. What makes Miracle Girls stand out though is the sheer frantic nature of the levels you encounter throughout the experience. It can get really intense, which all but adds to the rewarding feeling of finishing a performance and receiving a 100% run. There are several modes for the player to take part in, but the bulk of it revolves around the tour mode, which essentially is the main aspect most players will find themselves getting stuck into. It involves, you guessed it, touring the country and performing songs, but also includes various dialogue sequences between the members of the group that progresses the narrative. But for those that cannot understand the language, it doesn't really take away from the overall experience, as everything is pretty straightforward and easy to get to grips with. In all honesty, it's not the best rhythm game on the Vita, but it's one hell of a blast, and for fans of the genre, it definitely deserves a look. Luminous Arc Infinity takes place in a fantasy world that is sustained through the power of magical crystals. Watching over these precious gems are a group of girls all descended from the first Watchers that lived in the ancient past. Players take control of a man known as Seed, who is tasked with locating and rounding up the girls in order to tackle the mysterious forces of a shadowy organization. Gameplay-wise, the proceedings are split up into two separate styles, those being dialogue sections and battles. As you would expect, range, positioning, as well as elemental strengths and weaknesses all play a part in each battle. Your party consists of up to 6 girls at any one time, with the player overseeing their actions. Several aspects of the system are unique to the game, such as the VP gauge, which is filled by channeling abilities that benefit everyone in the party. Once full, you can unleash devastating attacks. Although not the most original concept, Luminous Arc Infinity offers up a competent experience that will keep fans of the genre and newcomers alike completely satisfied. First things first, Bullet Girls is an overly sexualized game, which might turn off some players, but certain aspects of the experience offer up something to give a go, mainly its battling system, which will be instantly satisfying for those willing to overlook the more sexual moments outside of it. Now everything is presented in English, but don't expect anything to blow you away story-wise. Gameplay is where it's at. The action takes place from an over-the-shoulder perspective as you are tasked with a range of missions that involve taking out diverse sets of demons that occupy the world. A wide array of both weaponry and armor are at your disposal to fulfill this goal, ranging from swords, axes, to arrows and firearms. It really is a huge selection. Out in the field, you have the ability to trigger a special attack, which is unique to each character and can be earned through meeting certain criteria throughout each skirmish. It really helps in taking on the hordes of enemies and keeps the action all the more manageable. For those looking for a unique experience on the Vita, Bullet Girls definitely deserves a place in your library. Utakumi 575 follows 2 young high school students who have their sights set on making it big in the world of pop. As the player, it is your job to help fulfill this dream by utilizing the many unique input features of the PlayStation Vita, mainly being both the front and rear touch panels that Utakumi uses as the main form of interaction. The gameplay differs from most rhythm games, and instead of just correctly hitting the right prompts at the correct time, the player is also tasked with inserting lyrics that align with the song. For non-Japanese speakers, it can be a bit fiddly at first, but thanks to the on-screen icons, it soon becomes a breeze and adds an extra layer to the otherwise simple gameplay. gameplay. On top of this, Utakumi possesses quite a lot of extra content, which is dealt out to the player upon successful playthroughs of songs. Utakumi successfully stands out of the several similar experiences on the Vita, and in my opinion offers up the best of the bunch, so if you're a fan of the genre, this one should not be missed. Girls and Panzer is based on a Japanese anime of the same name and follows the events of the show. Players take up the role of a girl known as Miho who travels to a new school with the intention of getting away from the popular pastime of tank warfare. For all of her efforts, she inevitably ends up right back where she started as her school starts their own tank program. It sees the player thrown onto the battlefield in a variety of different situations. The campaign is very generous and should last most players quite some time due to the level of increasing difficulty it presents. Once you're done with it, there are a whole host of extra modes that flesh out the experience and add to the replayability of the game. Several challenge missions and even a battle royale mode that lets you essentially create your own conditions all help this aspect of the experience. The sheer level of charm that Girls and Panzer possesses is enough to put a smile on anyone's face. Coupling this with the extremely tight gameplay makes it very easy to recommend to every Vita owner. Uppers follows two best friends that are flung into a state of endless battle against like-minded youngsters in an attempt to win the hearts of various ladies that occupy the game world. It's a completely bonkers premise, but don't let it overshadow the surprisingly deep and exhilarating gameplay the experience provides. From the get-go, players can participate in a variety of missions that introduce the fundamentals of the combat system. It consists of light and heavy attacks as well as grabs that all contribute to a meter, which then results in being able to trigger a special move. Now these abilities are the highlight of the experience, with the friends tag teaming the enemies and taking them out in a flashy and stylish execution that the ladies will undoubtedly love. At the end of each level, you are rewarded with a cash prize, which can be used to spend on cosmetic changes as well as upgrades for your fighting abilities. Uppers truly is the perfect pick up and play experience on the Vita, and is an absolute must for those looking for a light-hearted but challenging time. Assert a magical virtual on sees the worlds of a popular anime series and one of Sega's mech franchises colliding in a mashup that takes the best from both. The gameplay is comprised of two main elements, those being a visual novel, the second an outstanding combat system that sees players plunged into an arena-style environment. A huge selection of mechs are available, each of them possessing their own unique attributes, which makes trying them all out essential in order to find one that suits you. Visually, the game is vibrant and impressive. The frantic pace of each battle looks incredible on the screen, as well as each mech's unique special attack that fills the screen with a short animation, lending each encounter a cinematic quality. Now there's two types of battles to get through, including 2v2 as well as a 1v1, where the goal is relatively simple, that being to deplete the machine's life to zero or to score the most points before the round ends. To be honest, it's all mindless fun, but it truly is one of the finest mech games on the system and should not be passed up due to the language barrier, as everything is relatively easy to get to grips with and to understand. Originally released on a Nintendo DS, Tales of Innocence was littered with issues and design decisions that did nothing but impact the game in a negative way. This is what probably prompted the remake for the PlayStation Vita and 3DS that received a fresh lick of paint, a completely revised battling system, as well as an expanded narrative. Although it's still not completely as good as it could have been, it is a much better effort and really contributes to a much more enjoyable experience. The battling system is the main aspect players will want to get stuck into. It consists of many features such as the rave system that sees you filling a meter, which rewards players with extra experience points or granting the ability to heal your entire party once filled. The second being the countering system that gives the player the opportunity to counteract with a devastating attack. If timed correctly, it can really help out in some of the more trickier situations you will find yourself getting into. As you would expect from an RPG, you will find yourself leveling up and utilizing a range of both weaponry and items in order to complete the journey, but complementing this is the guild system that allows players to undertake specific missions dealt out by each guild. It rewards you with extra experience points and extra items otherwise not found in the environment. Although not the finest RPG experience on the Vita, Tales of Innocence offers up a really good experience for those who are fans of the genre and are looking for something new to get into. Macross Delta Scramble is based on the popular Macross anime and follows the two factions of Chaos and Windmere across a wide range of missions that chronicle the events of the anime show, but instead allows the player to take part in the proceedings. A huge cast of characters are available, as well as vehicles that have the ability to transform into flying machines and ground-based mechs. Combat is where Macross Delta really excels. As mentioned, there's a wide array of machines to choose from, but to go along with this is a diverse set of weaponry that can be selected before each skirmish. It allows players to experiment with many setups to ultimately settle into something that suits their style of play. Aiding in your efforts are a selection of support pilots that all lend their own unique abilities, which can truly help turn the tide of each battle. Once certain conditions are met, it can be performed, but is only active for a predetermined amount of time. It fills the screen in spectacular fashion and devastates everything in its path. Macross Delta Scramble truly is a must-play experience on the Vita. It's astonishing how well it plays, and for those worried about the language barrier, it is fully playable and straightforward.